Welcome back to the Bluechip Breakdown, Vols fans. I'm your host, Bull. In today's video, we are going to be talking about our men's basketball team in the NCAA tournament and what we need to do in the SEC tournament because we know Bracketology just came out today. So a lot of big news to cover right there. And we're also going to be talking about our strength and conditioning coach for the football team and spring break. Okay, our Vols started spring break, I guess, this past Friday, but we will be coming back 1 week from today and we will be starting spring practice. So we'll get into all that. But before we do get into it, please do us a big favor and like and subscribe to the channel. All right, so today we'll be going off of ESPN's Bracketology, and this just came out last night. And, it's going to have everything updated. But our biggest focus is going to be Tennessee. We're still the #1 team in the West, okay? That is a big deal. A lot of us were kind of speculating, will North Carolina take that #1 spot? And it's good to know that Tennessee is still sitting at #1. Now, I also looked at CBS Sports, and we're #1 there as well. Arizona's #2. They lost to USC, and I just don't think that they have a realistic possibility to get back to that #1 seed unless, just everything would have to pretty much crumble for them to take that #1 spot. I do think that it's between us and North Carolina at this point, but we will continue to scroll, and you can see what the conference breakdowns look like. Okay, #1 for the SEC, we've got 7 teams that will be in the NCAA tournament. All right, and if you come on down to the ACC, they have 4 teams, but Virginia is kind of on the bubble. So the strength of schedule in beating that team for North Carolina probably wouldn't help them out that much, okay, as opposed to what Tennessee could potentially do in the SEC tournament. Now on down to the Pac-12, they've got 3 teams right here in the conference breakdown, but one of those teams is Colorado. They're also on the bubble. Now let's go ahead and pull up what the individual conference tournaments look like for each of these teams. All right, so starting it off with the ACC in North Carolina, they would have to get to their championship game in their tournament before they will see a playoff team. And, I think that pretty much just kind of throws them out, as far as I'm concerned. Now, we are just pretty much talking about at this point, how many games does Tennessee need to win in this SEC tournament before we feel comfortable in going on ahead and losing so that we can start to get some rest. But I would say that, North Carolina looks like it's going to take a championship effort before they can really get a good quality win. All right, now for the Pac-12's bracket, and we're paying attention to Arizona right here. Arizona, same thing that we saw with North Carolina. They have to get to their championship game before they will see a tournament team or, even a team that's in the tournament bubble. And, again, I just think that this really spells out that Tennessee has the best odds to maintain that #1 seed. All right, and this is the SEC's bracket, and Tennessee could potentially end up seeing Mississippi State, which is a team that's, kind of on the bubble as a tournament team. That will be our first game more than likely if they do beat LSU. And then after that, we'll probably be seeing Auburn or it could be South Carolina. Those are 2 tournament teams. So I would say that Tennessee probably only needs to win 1 to 2 games just to make sure that we can maintain that #1 seed. So things look really good for our Vols, just as far as being able to probably get the easiest path to the Final Four. Now, we will pull the tournament brackets back up, for the NCAA, and we'll just kind of take a look at what the matchups would potentially look like for Tennessee. We'll kind of break down where the games will be played at. I know some of y'all are like, man, I want the games to be a little bit closer, but the good thing is we will be in Charlotte, I think, until the Sweet 16, and then we go on to LA, but we'll talk a little bit more about that as we pull this up. All right, so first and foremost, like I just said, we're going to be playing in Charlotte. I don't know. I think maybe for the first couple of games, and then we go on to the Sweet 16, which is going to be in LA. Now, some of y'all might be saying, well, I don't want us to have to play way out west because we don't have any fans out there, but I feel like our Vols, as fans, we travel well, and we're kind of like Spartans. It doesn't take that many of us to get into a venue and take over it. So maybe, we can reach out to a guy like Coach Jay, who lives out in LA, and tell him, hey, going up to the game with a couple of your buddies, y'all take over and make sure that our Vols have a good, pretty much home away from home crowd. And I think that, whenever you're looking at the way that everything is slotted at this point, I feel like we'll probably be seeing Auburn, okay, eventually. I don't know how much I do like that matchup just because we played them earlier in the season, just like a couple of weeks ago, and we did beat them, but at the same time, you kind of hate to have to play a team twice. So I'm hoping that Auburn goes down early. And if they do, as far as I'm concerned, everybody else we can handle pretty well. Now, I don't know too much about Merrimack or about Longwood. Those are 2 potential teams that Tennessee will be playing up against in the first round. And I mean, again, this is ESPN's, right? So their bracket is a little bit different from CBS Sports, but they both have Tennessee as the number one team out west. And I love our odds. I love our chances. I just feel like LA is a place that you're just going to feel comfortable there. You know what I mean? It's going to be great weather, okay, which is good. I feel like it's going to be very laid back. So the players should be in a good mental space to go out there and ball out. And I think that our team has a great shot to make it to the Final Four and hopefully the championship game. All right, now we're going to switch gears to our football team. We know that winter workouts just ended. We've seen a couple of clips and we'll pull those up, but we are heading into spring break for our players. And I wanted to introduce to everybody our strength and conditioning coach, because a lot of us have kind of been asking, who is it and what is he bringing to the table? All right, so we're talking about Kurt Schmidt, and his official title is Director of Competition Development. And he's been with Coach Heupel for the past 7 seasons. Okay, he was with him down in Central Florida. Obviously, he's been with Coach Hype since he's been up in Knoxville. And I love the way that our football team looks. Okay, we look the part. And, I think that he's done a good job of keeping guys healthy. We haven't seen a whole lot of crazy injuries. Obviously, in football, you're going to have some, but we haven't seen that many. It's not as bad as we saw back with Pruitt and, some other coaches. So I love that about him. I feel like our guys are very explosive out there. I love the whole competition aspect of this. Talking about guys doing, the tug of war. We saw guys like Mike Matthews out there doing it, Jackson Moy, Miles Kitzelman, several players, Caleb Webb doing their thing and winning that tug of war. So I love that competition element of this whole deal. And I feel like we're going to be just fine with him moving forward. Hopefully we can retain him. Now over here to the right, you can see what he's done as a strength and conditioning coach. He's been doing it for a long time. Looks like he started back in 2002. The biggest place of note to me is he was with the San Francisco 49ers back in 2013 when they went to the Super Bowl and they lost to the Ravens. I think that was 34-31 or something like that. But that was a great game, and that was a very, very good team. They were very physically dominant, and we're seeing a lot of those traits with our Volunteers. And, I just could not be prouder of what Coach Heupel has done in being able to go out and identify staff members that can come in and help us, kind of get over that hump. And I do feel like this season will be the season that Tennessee gets back to kind of like that 90s prominence and dominance that most of us are used to. Just in looking at some of those clips that we've seen from the winter workouts, we can tell that a lot of the players are just getting thicker. They're getting stronger. Nico looks like he's put on a few pounds, maybe 5 to 7 pounds already. And now they're going into spring break. And I kind of wanted to touch on this just because it's going to be different for each player. I feel like the players that are further away from home, like Nico, they're going to want to go back home and they're going to be spending a lot more time with their family members. Some of the guys that are, maybe closer, and especially these younger guys, they're going to want to go out and do spring break stuff. So let's just say, if you want to go to a place like Miami, okay, what I love about the NIL and the players actually having money now is that instead of those players having to go down to South Beach and, stand all that craziness, I used to live down there, so I know what it's like. South Beach it's always crazy, but especially around spring break time, is actually dangerous. It's probably the most dangerous place in the entire city. And my biggest thing is I want for these players just to be able to, go somewhere, have some fun, but stay out of trouble and stay healthy. So I think that now that these guys have money, instead of having to go out and stay in South Beach, they can stay in a place like Brickell that's a lot more high end. It's a lot nicer, it's a lot calmer. And, staying there will keep them out of trouble. It'll keep them out of the unnecessary craziness. And then they can just kind of go down and visit South Beach some, but not have to stay in the craziness. And I think that that's going to mean a lot. And I'm just using Miami as an example, but it's pretty much the same thing in every other city. Now that these guys have money, they can come together, get them like a Verbo or something that's, kind of away from everything. Everyone pitches in, you get you a nice big house and y'all just chill. You have a lot of people that and y'all can have fun mostly in that general area. And again, just kind of go out to the other crazy festivities very sparingly. But I think that for guys like Nico or, most of the players who will be going home, they, maybe have gained 5 to 7 pounds in these winter workouts, just of solid muscle. But they're going to go home. They're going to get that family cooking that they've been craving for so long, and they're going to gain even more weight. So we'll say maybe Nico was at about 215 pounds leaving off campus. I think that he's going to come back at about 220, 225 potentially. All right, just all depending on how much he's going to be eating and working out and stuff back home. But that's huge, right? So these players will be able to come into spring practice having seen their families. They're going to be ready to go to work. you can kind of, go back home and you can, kind of see again what you're working for. And I think that they're going to have a bigger spark coming into this whole thing. And I'm really looking forward to next Monday, 7 days from today, and seeing what our team is going to look like. But I also wanted to talk about a couple of other programs that I've been watching their spring practices. We can talk about the Buckeyes. They look really good. Okay. They look like a championship team from top to bottom. They've got the size, they've got the strength. I think that Will Howard is going to come in and win that starting spot. Him, along with Chip Kelly and, with guys like Jeremiah Smith, who looks like Julio Jones 2.0. He actually looks bigger than Julio Jones. He looks even more explosive than Julio did in college. I would say that he's going to end up being like, Julio was in his first couple of seasons with the Falcons. I mean, he looks incredible. But, the offensive line looks solid to me. Okay, I know that there's some concerns with that portion of their team. I think that that's probably the only real concern that anyone has. But everywhere else, I mean, they look the part for sure. Now, we also saw Alabama. And we've never seen this with Coach Saban, but it's like a 45-minute, entire practice clip. And again, guys, this is all just spring practice. So there's not a whole lot to see. I'm mostly just looking at how do the players look, okay, just from a size, a speed, all that, what is the intensity like at practice? And I'll tell you this, Alabama still looks like Alabama, okay, just as far as physically, but whenever you're watching them kind of going through their drills, the sense of urgency ain't the same as it was with Coach Saban. So they may end up potentially taking a step back this season. We kind of forecasted that, but we'll see how everything plays out. Sometimes that change of pace when things are a little bit looser, players can play better, up under a system like that. I've also seen Auburn, and they just look pretty much how they looked this past season, maybe a little bit more athletic, a little bit bigger, but for them, I don't know how many freshmen they have up on campus at this point, but they're going to be leaning very heavily on their transfer players and on their freshmen. And we won't be able to see them until summer. But I wouldn't say that they are, much of a concern for our Volunteers. They're not on our schedule, but they probably will be able to upset somebody, potentially Georgia. Now, Georgia does have Alabama right before they play Auburn, but I think that one of those two teams is going to get Georgia. So I'll keep a close eye out on Auburn for sure. And I've also seen Florida. Now, Florida is a team, I'm just going to tell you, man, they actually look good, okay? Like, they physically look really good out there. We know that they've lost a whole lot of players, but I think that they've got a good chance to really surprise some people with what could potentially be the toughest schedule in the entire country. Will they be bowl eligible? I don't think so, but I think that they'll be close to it, okay? I think that they will actually get close to that. I think I had them at maybe 2 wins or something like that. I'm going to go ahead and say that they will win maybe one more game. I don't think that it's going to be a problem versus our Volunteers. I don't think that we're going to have a problem with Florida because that game is in Knoxville. I think we are going to dominate in that one, but Florida will definitely surprise some people. But that's going to be it. I just wanted to kind of come in with some quick notes right there at the end about what I've been noticing from some other teams out here in spring ball. And we will have a lot more teams starting today and next week whenever the Vols start. So we'll be covering that as well, just throughout this entire cycle. But thank y'all as always for tuning into the channel. And thank you so much for staying all the way to the end. Please make sure to like, subscribe, hit that notification bell, share with your friends, family, and other Volunteer fans. And we'll see y'all on the next one. Thanks. Peace.